I always believed that hard work paid off. Maybe not right away, maybe not every single day, but eventually. That belief kept me going through 5 years at a large distribution warehouse. I arrived early. I stayed late. Whenever someone needed a weekend shift covered, I volunteered. If a coworker called in sick, I stepped in without complaining. When new employees looked overwhelmed, I took the time to train them, even if no one asked me to. I wasn't trying to impress management. I wasn't chasing promotions. I simply wanted to be the kind of employee my managers never had to worry about. By the beginning of spring, it finally felt like all those extra hours were about to pay off. Every quarter, the company awarded performance bonuses. They weren't guaranteed. Attendance, productivity, customer satisfaction, safety records, and teamwork all factored into the decision. For me, it wasn't just a bonus. It was $2,500, enough to finally replace the leaking roof over our garage before the rainy season arrived. My wife had already spoken with a contractor. My daughter kept asking when we could stop putting buckets on the floor every time it rained. Every time she asked, I smiled. Soon. Just give me another couple of weeks. I had every reason to believe I'd earned that money. My attendance was perfect. I'd exceeded my productivity goals every month that quarter. I'd never received a disciplinary warning. My most recent performance review described me as dependable, professional, and someone customers genuinely enjoyed working with. I wasn't expecting a miracle. I was simply expecting the bonus I'd worked for. The announcement came on a Thursday morning. Everyone gathered in the break room before the warehouse opened. People laughed as they guessed how much they'd receive. One guy planned to buy a new fishing boat. Another wanted to pay off his credit card. Someone joked that his wife had already spent the money before he'd even received it. I mostly stayed quiet. I already knew exactly where every dollar of mine would go. Our store manager, Melissa, walked in carrying a stack of sealed envelopes. She smiled. I've got some good news for a lot of you today. The room immediately fell silent. One by one, she called employees to the front. Each person accepted an envelope and returned to their seats smiling. Some tore theirs open immediately. Others waited until after the meeting. Every few seconds, someone whispered, "Congratulations." I waited patiently. Eventually, there was only one envelope left. Melissa looked down at her clipboard. Then she slowly scanned the room. That's everyone. For a moment, I honestly thought she'd forgotten my name. I raised my hand. I think you skipped me. Her smile faded. Oh. So she hesitated. Adam, could you stop by my office after the meeting? The room suddenly felt much smaller. No one looked directly at me, but I could feel everyone listening. A minute later, the meeting ended. People walked out chatting about weekend plans. I headed toward Melissa's office. She closed the door behind me. I'm sorry, she said quietly. You didn't qualify for this quarter's bonus. I stared at her. I'm sorry. What? She let out a slow sigh. I know this isn't what you expected. It definitely isn't. My attendance has been perfect. I hit every productivity target. I've never been written up. She nodded. I know. Then why? She turned her computer monitor toward me. One number immediately caught my attention. Customer satisfaction score. 79%. I frowned. That can't be right. Melissa clicked to another page. There was a mystery shopper evaluation. One review, 1 star. My heart immediately started racing. What? The report says you failed to assist a customer promptly. I blinked. No. I've never ignored a customer. I'm not saying you did it intentionally, she replied. But according to the bonus policy, any customer satisfaction score below 80 automatically disqualifies an employee. 1 point. Just one single point. 3 months of overtime. 3 months of hard work. Gone. I leaned back in my chair. Can I read the report? Melissa hesitated. I'm only allowed to show you the summary. She rotated the screen slightly. There was only one sentence. Employee failed to assist customer promptly. That was it. No date, no department, no description, no explanation. I looked back at her. Who was the customer? I can't tell you. What day did it happen? I don't have that information. Can I at least read the full comments? I'm sorry. They're confidential. I left her office feeling more confused than angry. Ignored a customer? That didn't sound like me. Not even on my worst day. For the rest of my shift, I replayed every customer interaction I could remember. Had I accidentally walked past someone? Did somebody ask for help while I was unloading inventory? Was I already helping another customer at the time? Nothing fit. During lunch, Marcus sat across from me. You've been quiet all morning? I forced a smile. I just lost $2,500 because some mystery shopper. I left her office feeling more confused than angry. Ignored a customer? That didn't sound like me. Not even on my worst day. For the rest of my shift, I replayed every customer interaction I could remember. Had I accidentally walked past someone? Did somebody ask for help while I was unloading inventory? Was I already helping another customer at the time? Nothing fit. During lunch, Marcus sat across from me. You've been quiet all morning? I forced a smile. I just lost $2,500 because some mystery shopper gave me 1 star. His eyebrows shot up. 1 star? Apparently. He frowned. I've worked beside you for 3 years. If anything, you spend too much time helping customers. I shrugged. Corporate doesn't seem to think so. He sat quietly for a moment before asking, did they tell you when it happened? No. What department? No. What customer? No. He slowly shook his head. That's convenient. That single word stayed with me. Convenient. After work, I skipped overtime and drove home. The moment I walked through the front door, my wife looked at me and knew something was wrong. What happened? I sat down at the kitchen table. We didn't get the bonus. She didn't panic. She didn't blame me. She simply reached across the table and held my hand. We'll figure something out. I nodded. But my mind was somewhere else. 1 anonymous customer. 1 mysterious review. 1 sentence. Enough to erase an entire quarter of hard work. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, I opened my work email and searched through every customer-related report attached to my previous evaluations. Nothing. Not a single complaint. Then I opened my last 3 performance reviews. Every one of them praised my customer service. Professional, patient, respectful, consistently receives positive customer feedback. So how had I suddenly become the employee who ignored a customer? The next morning, I walked into work determined to find out who that mystery customer really was. At that point, I still believed there had to be a simple explanation. Maybe someone had misunderstood what happened. Maybe they had been in a hurry. Maybe I'd accidentally missed them while helping another customer. Maybe there was an explanation that would make all of this make sense. I was wrong. What I uncovered over the next few days had almost nothing to do with that 1-star review. It exposed something much bigger, something that had quietly affected employees long before I ever lost my bonus. And once I finally learned the truth, I understood why no one wanted to answer my questions. Man, what I uncovered over the next few days had almost nothing to do with that 1-star review. It exposed something much bigger, something that had quietly affected employees long before I ever lost my bonus. And once I finally learned the truth, I understood why no one wanted to answer my questions. Man, I barely after seeing that note in the break room. Someone else had lost their bonus because of a 1-star mystery shopper review. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe this wasn't an isolated mistake. The next morning, I arrived 20 minutes early. Not because I wanted overtime, because I wanted answers. As people clocked in, I quietly asked around. Most just shrugged. A few said they'd heard rumors. Then I found Jenny in receiving. She'd worked there longer than I had. When I mentioned the mystery shopper program, her expression changed immediately. You too? I nodded. I lost my bonus. She let out a slow sigh. 3 years ago, the same thing happened to me. What did they say? Customer satisfaction. 1 mystery shopper. 1 bad score. Did they let you read the report? She laughed. No. They told me it was confidential. What actually happened? I still don't know. I spent weeks trying to remember every customer I'd helped. Eventually, I just gave up. That answer frustrated me. How could anyone improve if nobody would even explain what they'd done wrong? Before we went back to work, Jenny said something that stayed with me. Sometimes companies don't realize their systems are broken. They only realize it after enough people get hurt. 3 days later, a regional operations manager arrived for one of the company's routine audits. His name was David. Unlike most corporate visitors, he didn't spend the day hiding inside the office. He walked the warehouse, watched employees interact with customers, asked questions, even helped an elderly customer push a heavy cart toward the loading area. Late that afternoon, I was helping a customer load a boxed refrigerator into his pickup truck when David walked over. After the customer thanked me and drove away, David smiled. "You handled that safely. Thank you." He glanced at my name tag. "Adam? That's me. I'm David." We shook hands. Then he asked the question every manager asks. "How are things going?" Normally, I would have smiled and said everything was fine. Instead, I decided to take a chance. "I actually have a question." He nodded. "Go ahead." I explained everything. The missing bonus, the one-star mystery shopper review, the confidential report, the fact that no one could tell me what I'd supposedly done. David didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he asked quietly, "You've never seen the original evaluation?" "No. Only a one-sentence summary." He frowned. "That's not how these reports are supposed to be handled." The following morning, Melissa stopped me before my shift started. "David would like to see you." When I walked into the office, David was already sitting at the conference table. A thick folder rested beside him. Melissa looked unusually nervous. David slid the folder toward me. "I requested the original mystery shopper report. For the first time since losing my bonus, I was finally going to see what had actually been written." I opened the folder. The report described a customer entering the appliance department. A minute later, I found my name. I took a deep breath and started reading. The employee acknowledged me immediately upon entering the department. I stopped. That wasn't what I'd been told. I kept reading. He explained he was assisting another customer with a large appliance and would help me as soon as it was safe to do so. My eyes moved to the next sentence. The employee remained polite, professional, and apologetic throughout the interaction. I looked up at David. "This says I did exactly what I was supposed to do." "It does." "So, where did the one-star review come from?" David leaned forward. "Keep reading." Near the bottom of the report was another section I'd never seen before. It wasn't about me. It was about the store. Across the top were several categories: store cleanliness, product knowledge, checkout experience, customer availability. Every category had its own score. Most were 4 or 5 stars. Then I saw it. Customer availability, 1 star. I looked at David, confused. "I still don't understand." He turned the report toward me. "Read the comment underneath." I did. The employee handled the situation professionally. However, no additional employee or supervisor offered assistance while I waited. The location appeared understaffed during my visit. I read it again, then a third time. Finally, it clicked. The shopper wasn't complaining about me. David slowly nodded. They were complaining that there wasn't anyone else available to help. I remembered that afternoon perfectly. I'd been helping a customer load a washing machine. It took both of us several minutes because of the wait. Leaving halfway through would have been dangerous. "I couldn't just walk away," I said quietly. "You weren't supposed to," David replied. "You handled your customer correctly." "Then why did I lose my bonus?" David opened another document. "This is how the bonus system works." He pointed to a chart. The mystery shopper gives scores in several categories. Some measure individual service. Others measure store operations. He tapped the 1-star rating. This score wasn't saying you were rude. It was saying customers had to wait because there weren't enough employees available. I frowned. "So that should have counted against staffing." "Not me." "Exactly." He pointed at another line on the screen. "But the software only imported the score. It didn't import the written explanation. The system saw 1 employee in that department and automatically attached the 1-star availability score to your performance record." I stared at him. "So the warehouse failed, but the system blamed me." David nodded. "That's exactly what happened." For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then David looked toward Melissa. "We've already reviewed 2 other cases. They followed the exact same pattern. Jenny, Kevin, neither of them had imagined it. Neither of them had deserved to lose their bonus." At that moment, I realized something that bothered me even more than losing the money. The mystery shopper hadn't judged me unfairly. The report hadn't been wrong. The truth had been sitting there the entire time, hidden inside a report that nobody had bothered to read. David closed the folder and leaned back in his chair. "I'm going to recommend that your bonus be reinstated," he said, "and not just yours. We've already identified 2 other employees who were affected by the same mistake." I didn't know what to say. For the past 2 weeks, I'd convinced myself that somehow I'd failed. Now I finally knew the truth. I hadn't lost my bonus because I ignored a customer. I'd lost it because the system couldn't tell the difference between an employee doing the right thing and a store that didn't have enough people to support him. A week later, Melissa called me into her office again. This time, there was no uncomfortable silence. She handed me a sealed envelope. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "Corporate completed their review. They've restored your full performance bonus." I opened the envelope. Every dollar was there, along with a letter explaining that the mystery shopper program had been updated. From now on, written comments would be reviewed before any employee's bonus could be affected. As I walked back onto the warehouse floor, Marcus spotted the envelope in my hand. "You got it back?" I smiled. "Yeah," he grinned. "I guess asking questions paid off." I shook my head. "No. Reading the whole report did." That evening, I placed the envelope on the kitchen table. My wife looked at me. "You got it?" I nodded. She wrapped her arms around me without saying a word. A month later, the contractor finished replacing our roof. The first time it rained after that, my daughter ran into the garage and looked up at the ceiling. No dripping, no buckets, no leaks. She smiled. "I guess we fixed it." I smiled too. Not because I'd gotten my money back, but because I'd learned something I'll never forget. Sometimes a single number can make you look like the problem, but numbers don't tell the whole story. The people willing to look beyond them are the ones who find the truth. But because I'd learned something I'll never forget. Sometimes a single number can make you look like the problem, but numbers don't tell the whole story. The people willing to look beyond them are the ones who find the truth.